Welcome to the second episode of Pilot Talks, Pilot Ki Baat. I'm Captain Vijay, your host, and in this episode, we'll be continuing from where we left from our first episode. In our first episode, we were speaking to our special guest, Captain Ravi Nijjer. So let me welcome my co-host, Captain Gajanan sir.
Yeah, hi. Yes, Vijay, morning to you. Thank you very much. And yes, we did see last time Captain Ravi shared his journey of what they have done about the pilotage in Australia, and it was very enlightening for that matter. And I'm sure even the viewers will enjoy this kind of narration, the first-hand narration from a person who has been there and done that. I would like to, definitely, ask him more questions and and see what more he has got to share with us, because it is very important that we ask him pertinent questions. Uh, Good morning, Captain Ravi Nijjer. Again, thank you very much for joining this Pilot Talks, Pilot Ki Baat show, and we both hosts are here to welcome you. I want to ask you a very simple question. You shared last time about DRM 3.0, and picking up the thread from there about pilot training. Yes, India is trying to revive the pilot training for pilot course for all pilots, and but your insights will definitely help. And of course, this video will be seen by everyone, so they will also get to see and know as to what you have done. These acts which are there, whether it is shipping or pilots or anything. I mean, Australia also is a Commonwealth country, so definitely you all must have also had the UK acts to start with in the beginning. How did you go about rewriting these acts, or was it completely the acts were rewritten to suit the Australian environment? Or of course, Indian government is doing its best now. The present minister has taken the task of changing all the acts, and he's doing a wonderful job. And everyone in the industry is happy that somebody is taking the matter in the hand. But I would like to, hear your thoughts on this.
Sir, we had a very insightful first episode, which was an instant hit. I must say it was widely shared on many social media platforms. A lot of knowledge and information was shared by Captain Ravi Nijjer, which was the main reason behind the success.
I think first of all, that needs to be, I think the pilots need to be involved in this to actually know under what act they are working. And then once you get that, then you can work out what you need to reform, what reforms you need to move ahead.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much for that. And of course, the government is inclined to change all the acts, and involvement of industry, the pilots direct is very important.
Okay.
One of the things that we saw as AMPA initially when we started was the big issue, because AMPA's inception only started with the pilot ladder accident.
Yeah.
Somebody falling in the water. Fortunately, we lost one very senior pilot in Mumbai port in 2019.
Yeah.
And that was a trigger point and a very sorrowful event. But I think, we did lot of campaigning on pilot ladder. I don't have any measures to, say that the pilot ladder campaign was successful. But there have been accidents on and off, people not reporting and things like that does happen. What are your thoughts on this? Just simple, as they call it, a wood and a rope kind of a ladder. Why there's so much of gap that the ship's crew is not able to do it rightly?
It's the thing is that they've had pilot ladder problems forever. Even when I was at sea, there were pilot ladder problems. It's just something inherent in pilot ladders. It's a very dangerous way of transporting somebody from a boat onto the whole issue of pilot transfers is problematic. That's the only thing you can say. Because in Australia, if you applied the Occupational Health and Safety Act and you told somebody who knew nothing about shipping that this is how we're going to put the pilot on the ship, he would tell you to stop straight away. And then you would have to explain to him there's no other way of doing it. And the other thing is that the freeboard of the ships has increased a lot. And if you go into the statistics on this, you may find that more seamen have fallen overboard and died than pilots. So it's not only dangerous for the pilot, it's also dangerous for the people who rig the pilot boats as well. Pilot ladders, sorry. Yeah. So it's inherently dangerous. They've tried helicopters in places, but helicopter probably a bit safer, but they have their own problems. And
Yeah,
no
but
one
we
come up with
identified
a,
as
yeah.
we identified one of the reasons was lack of training. I think Vijay can put some light on it.
Yeah, well,
He's
Vijay
been a
he's due
onboard
on the ship.
master.
Vijay, can you tell us something about that? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Even though we have the pilot posters on board, but still, there is no fixed, systematic, what do you call, uniformity of how to do the correct pilot boarding arrangement. And it is really a shame, when the pilot comes on board and then he clicks a picture and comes up to the bridge and tells the master that, the ladder was not rigged properly. And then, he has the full right in his, to inform the PSC as well. So this is where I decided to make a video, and at least on my ships and at least in my company vessels, I'll make sure that at least that video is circulated. I've already spoken to my training department, and we'll be definitely teaching our crew members, our officers, junior officers,
Yeah.
and for the correct rigging procedure for the pilot boarding arrangement.
Okay, that's there are such initiatives taking place in many parts of the world. But it's a good thing. But I
Right,
think
sir.
that just the rigging of the pilot ladder is not sufficient. I mentioned this to Captain Karanjikar before. And what I think is it's got to be looked at as an end-to-end thing. If for a pilot service, not so much for the ship. The ship has to focus on the pilot ladder, but for the pilots, the whole thing has to be looked at from the time of leaving the wharf. Just one of the issues here in Australia came up when they looked at it seriously was the power difference between the pilot and the crew on the pilot vessel. And what the pilot must realize is his life depends on the coxswain and the deckhand on the pilot boat. So their decision making on whether to put the pilot on the ship or not put the pilot on the ship, that's something that's a joint decision. In some ports in Australia and some ports, it's the coxswain decides. But he's been given some training to do this. And in some ports, it's if they disagree, then it has to be sent. Some person escalate to somebody even higher up, because that it's a very. The other thing is the boat crews have to be very skilled as well. I don't know what the seas are like in India. I mean, I've only got a vague memory. I know in Madras there were a lot of swell, and in the monsoon times you get pretty rough weather. But here you get big swells, from the Antarctic coming up to the ports, and in Sydney you get very bad swells as well. So the coxswain, the crew have to of the pilot boats have to be, very proficient in what they do.
No, very pertinent point you have mentioned about the pilot transfer procedures. I mean, I should say, about a year back, we started writing a code of safe working practices for pilot embarkation, disembarkation processes, for the ports. And we have given our code copy, which is based on, of course, the earlier available code. And I've taken some inputs from AMSA as well. And we have given it to the Ministry of Shipping and IPA to review the entire the code of safe working practices, which does include the pilot transfer procedure, pilot crew training, and etc. So that is really a very good insight. So Vijay, what Ravi sir is trying to say that this is complete end-to-end process, not only the pilot ladder, not only pilot's connection to the ship, though it is very important that the pilot boards the vessel, because the vessel which is coming in the port, the master has no idea about navigation inside the port. He has switched over from deep sea to coastal. Now coastal to import navigation, he has to have a pilot on board. And that's where the situation is very dangerous, where most of the pilot, consciously, knowingly, the ladder is not good, but they can take a risk and they take a risk and go on board.
Yeah.
But because the vessel is vulnerable at that point in time, as if the pilot refuses to board, she can't turn around, she can't go out. So that is also another point of consideration for the deciding pilot boarding grounds.
But yeah, so that's one of the impacts of BRM is that all the boarding grounds in Australia were reviewed. Because this, in some ports, by the time the pilot got on board, the ship was committed. But now what happens is that that's not the case in any port in Australia.
Since you be the BRM 3.0 inventor, kind of, if I say that you have also done the big data and things like that, AI in pilotage. So I have same question connected. Would you please brief us on that BRM 3.0 and how it is interlinked with because you also mentioned a very pertinent point in your initial dialogue that about safety management system of pilotage operation. So my question is that how BRM 3 is going to work with the safety management system, how it is interlinked.
Okay. Well, what it is that that we are in the age of big data now. What it means is that everything that's done is recorded, right? So ships have got VDR, they've got CCTV cameras, and also the ships, the information on the ship sensors now is routinely sent to companies. There's not one company, there's several companies, and they are recording all this information, and so this actually changes the whole thing, because in shipping has always operated with relative anonymity, and they liked it that way. And now all of a sudden, we have confronted with this situation. So the culture on ships to some extent reflects that anonymity that we had in the past. And now everything has to be transparent, because after an accident, they're going to be able to find out exactly what happened. Previously, before this age of big data, they used to interview people after an accident. And when you interview people, what people can remember, it's quite unreliable, the evidence. But now the evidence is irrefutable. And this has been going on for a few years now. And for about 3 years prior to 2018, I noticed that nearly all the accident reports from around the world were based on recordings, irrefutable recordings. And they showed a very big weakness in the pilotage systems around the world. Because what the pilots were doing was they were using what they call eyeball Mark 1, that's looking out of the window, visual navigation techniques, local knowledge, and their intuition. And they were not using, even when a PPU was available, that's a portable piloting unit, the pilots didn't use it. A good example is the CMA CGM Vasco da Gama in Southampton, where they had 2 pilots on the ship. They had the best PPU that you can get, AD navigation PPU. They had the best integrated navigation system that you get, which is NACOS 5 system, and none of that was used. And so the accident investigators, the pilots think that's sufficient for the pilot to use visual navigation, local knowledge, and their intuition. But investigators who represent the public, because the investigators are these are safety investigators, not one by the regulator. And the safety investigators expect that with the knowledge that we have today, that the pilots are using the PPU, they're using all the resources, the PPU, the bridge team, the ship's integrated navigation system. And so the legal system, the way it applies in Australia at least, is the due diligence. And due diligence means you have to prove that you're using all available knowledge. And if you're not, so all available knowledge means using all resources. And so what the BRM3 is based on is, if you're going to work in this age of big data, how should you conduct pilotage? Which means that you have to use, it's very easy to say use all resources, but that's not really part of the training of most pilots. And which also means that they have to learn to use the PPU at a professional level. Just like in aviation, they have visual flight rules and instrument flight rules. So the PPU training has not been taken very seriously. Then you have another problem on a cruise ship. They have these advanced integrated bridge systems. The companies spend large sums of money in training the ship's officers, and then the pilot goes on the ship and he's going to contribute visual navigation, local knowledge, and intuition. And by doing that, he discards all these other resources. So pilots have to now have some professional appreciation of what a integrated bridge system can do and how they can optimize the whole situation. Because otherwise, when the pilot goes on the ship, he may actually detract from the safety of the operation. So they have to make all these adjustments. And so that's really what BRM3 is. And that's been very successful because people understand that. And BRM is a discussion course. So it's not me telling them what to do. You can't tell professionals what to do. You can just present the evidence, and it's up to them to make up their minds. And so that's what.
Absolutely great. I mean, I took the idea, and I like that concept of BRM being a professional development course also. So thank you very much on this insightful talks of yours. And I would because this is Vijay's show, so I would let Vijay speak on this. As to him, he seems to be in complete awe because I mean, being a master mariner, you really don't see the other side of the pilot ladder. You only see the ship side of the pilot ladder. So he has probably gained a lot of plethora of knowledge from you,
yes,
and of course from these talks. And Vijay, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. So I learned a lot of things. As you said, being a master mariner, it's totally different. The concept of maritime pilotage. As having you and Captain Ravi sir as a mentor, definitely I would want to be a good pilot someday. So again, I would like to thank you to Captain Ravi sir for his valuable information and knowledge. And I'm sure the information on this video will be instrumental for our own maritime pilotage reforms.
So the first success has come of the talk show that we have made one person aspiring pilot today.
Excellent.
That's a good success, I mean, if you can make somebody change his career decision to become pilot.
I think that if you want to sum up the whole thing in a couple of sentences, what it really amounts to is that the pilotage system is very fragmented. There's bits here, bits there. And what you really want is a proper system. For somebody new entering the industry, you should know what the steps are to become a good pilot. At the moment, it's just bits and pieces. So Australia is about 2 years away from having a complete new greenfield system in place.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So it's taken 25 years to achieve it. Actually, we thought we would be able to do it in about 5 years. It's taken 20 years longer. But I think with India, you got this advantage. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've made all the mistakes and all the stumbles. All right.
Right, sir.
All right, sir.
I think we conclude here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I mean, as we have seen, the sheer his plethora of knowledge is so much, and this could have gone in for another 2 hours, and he has got so much to share. And I'm happy that you are taking a decision of becoming a pilot. And after hearing this, few more master mariners come forward. Even the eligibility criteria for pilots is being lowered now. And I mean, some of the ports are already having that only master COC and no experience as master is also okay. Experience as chief also is fine. So if we look at that, then I really think that this talk show is also going to inspire a lot of pilots, a lot of master mariners to become pilots, So that is going to be added advantage of this.
All right, sir. Would you like to share a bit of teaser for our next episode?
I think, we'll go systematically. And the next, the show is going to be with Malcolm Goodfellow from Australia. And I don't want to tell you more about it because he already wrote an article in AMPA journal, and it was a great learning from his accident. And after that accident, the entire pilot transfer procedures in the Newcastle Harbour was changed and was made for betterment. He's also produced very good videos on pilot transfer procedures and things like that. So let's wait for the next fortnight to hear Malcolm, and let's take this forward. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. All right, then I thank our viewers for watching this show, and please share this video as much as possible and stay tuned for our next episode. So till then, stay safe. So this is your Captain Host and Captain Gajanan, sir, my co-host, signing off. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.